Today, we're talking the new and somewhat divisive Velma series on HBO Max, the first big loss of 2023, a history-making Golden Globes, and Morgan finally has gotten to see Megan, so we will be giving our review. Welcome to the madness. Hello, It's a Wonderful Podcast patrons and friends and all the people out there. Welcome to another episode of Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. Hello, the Morgan.
Hello, the Machine. How are we? How are you? How am I? I'll tell you how I am. My voice hurts. Do you know why my voice hurts?
Well, why is that? Oh, football.
Football reasons.
Shouting at football. Yes.
Football reasons is why my voice hurts. Not because I was making as much noise as Kihi Kwan was in my sign today, which is "We Love Kihi Kwan."
Yeah.
Who was making a frightening amount of noise during his Golden Globes acceptance speech, but so he should have been.
Yes, that whole room was very excited for him.
It was beautiful. We'll be talking about plenty of Golden Globes related things because that, of course, was last week.
Yes.
And we didn't get a chance to obviously talk about it on last week's show because it was before the Golden Globes. That's how weeks work.
Yes.
But no, my voice is actually very... if you don't mind, Jeannine, I would like to actually talk a little bit about this because I'm just very excited.
Yes, go for it.
Because my voice is hoarse this evening as we record this because it's the day of the Manchester Derby, which is, of course, football, Premier League football, Manchester United versus Manchester City, and we, of course, beat City 2-1, which is just wonderful. Coming from behind, coming from a goal down, in 4 minutes in quick succession, we get 2 back, and it's very, very good to see. We're in United are in a very, very hot reign of form at the moment. Very, very hot.
Okay.
With our beautiful manager.
Well, we love to see it with his nice turtlenecks. You know,
let's put a picture of Erik ten Hag up in his beautiful turtleneck.
Let's show it off.
Because I love it. When he started wearing turtleneck, I was
into my man right there.
I mean, I speak about this as though I'm attracted to Erik ten Hag. I'm not attracted to Erik ten Hag.
You're attracted to his turtlenecks.
I'm attracted to his turtlenecks, yeah.
His sense of fashion, his sense of style.
His sense of fashion is perfect. When he took over United in the last summer, he was who I wanted to take over. So I was kind of in right there and then, but then he started wearing turtlenecks.
Okay, and that sealed the deal.
Oh, it's even better now.
Oh my gosh.
And United look like a really good team. United look like a really, really good team at the minute in very, very good form.
Good form. Okay.
That really culminated in this big test against City, because City are a fantastic team themselves. And yes, we beat them, and it was all very... The stadium was bouncing, the stadium was rocking as it usually does. It was almost row swapping time, and we haven't had that for many years. And by that, I mean, like in the celebration, the goal celebrations, you end up like 3 rows in front. Just because of how bouncy everybody is
running around,
jumping around all over everybody. Because there's 74,000 people in this stadium.
Yes.
Obviously.
So I'm a Manchester fan by association, so very exciting.
Yes, but you're a United fan, though. You're certainly not a Manchester City fan.
No, not
don't
City.
Like Manchester City at all. But no, that's why my voice. I did just want to bring that up, and yes, if anybody would like to celebrate United's current run of form with me, then please do.
Well, I'm sure people will appreciate a husky-voiced Morgan today. So.
Oh God, nobody appreciates that. Nobody appreciates that. But yes, we do have other stuff. We do have plenty of regular kind of stuff
Yes.
that we like to talk about here on Monday Madness. Today, Jeannine, should I simply ask the question?
Yes, go for it.
Sup, Jeannine?
We have a few things up today, starting with some sad news. Lisa Marie Presley recently passed away. I believe she had cardiac arrest, and it's just kind of a crazy
Oh,
thing because literally 2 days prior, she was at the Golden Globes. Austin Butler had thanked her and Priscilla in his speech, and such a great moment for that family. And then 2 days later, she passed away. So people are kind of were kind of showing videos of her at the actual awards, kind of needing to hold on to her friend, and she seemed a little bit weak. So I don't know if she was dealing with any kind of like heart condition issues for a while, but just a really sad loss. The only child of Elvis,
yeah,
a singer songwriter in her own right. She did suffer the loss of her son to suicide. So
yes.
yeah, so tough things in her life as well. So um yeah, I hope she the family is sending love to the family, and hope she's at peace and all of those things. Really, it was really such kind of a shock to hear she was only 54. So
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's got to be very tough for Priscilla Presley, of course, as well,
yeah.
for something like this to happen.
Yeah, and it's always a thing of like,
Um,
parents never want to outlive their children. So
Certainly not. Certainly
yeah.
not. It's it's not nice. And it obviously like you said, it's shocking. It was shocking and surprising, really, because a couple of days before she had interviews at the Golden Globes. Even she had given a couple of red carpet interviews. So
Yeah.
it wasn't one of these situations that you kind of, okay, someone's ill or someone's
Well, yeah, it's
very,
like
very old
or like with
or
Kirstie
anything like that.
Alley, like we hadn't seen her in a while, and then
Yeah,
got the news that she had passed away. This is someone we just saw, talking and doing interviews and being present, and then just to have that happen just was such kind of a shock. So very sad news.
yeah,
Yeah.
very, very. She back with her father,
Yes, I
as
think she
as
was
as
only 9
people
when
like
he
to say.
passed away. So
Yeah, she
so
can't have
yeah.
been that old, can she?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, she would have been. Because I think she was 1968, and I'm sure Elvis passed away in 77. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
and
would make
like
sense.
I had seen some things about how she had said that, people ask like, how much do you even really remember from that time or of your father? And she's like, it's basically kind of just like, memories I can pull from. I remember everything, but there are a lot of things I just maybe wasn't aware of. She said she had like visited Graceland like recently, and she saw this kind of note or a quote that he had on his wall about how, becoming a father was like the greatest joy of his life or something like that. And she had never seen that before.
Okay.
So the fact that like, there were things that maybe were always around her, but she just wasn't aware of them at that time. So
Yeah.
now she's like just newly discovering things that her father maybe felt for her, saw, talked, about her that she didn't realize. And so she was like, it was really kind of, a joy to see things like that I just wasn't aware of. So yes, hopefully she's with her, her son and her father and at peace. And, very, very sad to hear about that.
Definitely, definitely. Rest in peace to Lisa Marie Presley, of
Yes.
course. We do like to pay our respects here on
Yes, we
Monday
do.
Madness, even though we're generally a silly show that
Yes.
has fun. But we do like to do that, and we didn't want to do it in the second show of the year,
Yeah.
Jeannine.
So
We
early
wanted
on, yeah.
to last a little bit of time before we have to come to
Yeah.
the mournful paying of respects
Yes.
situations that are never ever fun,
No.
but of course more than worthwhile. But yes, rest in peace to Lisa Marie Presley.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
So the new Velma show is out. I know you are kind of a huge
Yes,
fan of Mystery Inc. and Scooby Doo,
I am. Yes,
the classic
I
kind of
love
era.
Scooby Doo. Well,
Yes.
you say that. You say that. I'm also actually a big fan of. I'm a big fan of various incarnations of Scooby Doo. Of course, I'm like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, and the new Scooby-Doo movies and the, late 60s and 70s
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo stuff. Yes, okay. But Scooby-Doo in the late 90s and the early 2000s and the mid 2000s is also quite good. What's New Scooby-Doo and the straight to video movies.
Yes, there were some good straight to video
They're
movies.
good.
You always kind of, don't give this era of Scooby-Doo love that I wish you would give a chance.
You say that,
Mid-90s Scooby-Doo. I grew up every morning before school watching a pup named Scooby-Doo. That was
can't be doing
very
with it. Silly.
No, it was very cute. The characters were all very much to their characterization. No, it didn't make any sense that they were teenagers in the 60s and 70s, but children in like the 90s. But it's a cartoon. You throw that out the window. The characterization of the characters is still really fun. The songs are very doo-woppy, shoo-woppy songs. So you would like the songs.
Well, we do like
Um,
do-woppy, shoe-woppy songs
yes,
in
they still do
Scooby-Doo
the
sets. We
chases and
do.
the songs. They play with a bunch of different flavors of Scooby snacks that Scooby likes to try.
But
A
the
pup named
point
Scooby-Doo
is,
is underrated. So,
the point is,
just
it's
saying.
just baby Looney Tunes, isn't it?
No, so it was
It is.
still very much the essence of the other shows. They were just kids. That's it.
Well, that's all baby Looney Tunes was, but it
No,
was
it
never as
wasn't.
good as actual Looney
You
Tunes,
don't
was
know.
it?
You
No.
can't speak to it because you've never seen it. So I would like
It's
to
a
just
fair
tell you.
point. Yes, okay.
Morgan
I'd
hasn't
also,
seen a
I'd
pup named
also like to bring
Scooby-Doo.
up, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo with Vincent Price, which is also
Yeah, it's
pretty
great.
good.
It's great. So
Um,
yes, several iterations of
and
Scooby-Doo all have been
sorry,
pretty great.
and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, which was the actual narrative show from about 2010-ish. That's really good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really good.
So yes, we were getting this new cartoon with Mindy Kaling as Velma. Uh, People were kind of up in arms of her changing the race of Velma.
Doesn't
Uh,
really matter.
which doesn't really matter like that, and I think I said the show is a bit divisive in the intro. What I think is bringing the divisive nature of it is it's very mature. There's nudity and
Which is very
violence
unusual.
and uh kind of crude jokes and things like that. So I feel like yes, in terms of a kind of raunchy animated series, I think it's a fun show with like mysteries and things like that. Just make it a raunchy adult humor animated series. Don't make it Scooby-Doo related. Scooby-Doo, by the way, is not even in the series. So yeah,
Boo! What's the
yes.
point?
So don't make it anything associated with Mystery Inc. characters. Just make it a raunchy mystery cartoon.
Which really, someone like Mindy Kaling should be able to do perfectly well. I like Mindy
Yes.
Kaling. I really do like Mindy Kaling. I admire Mindy Kaling an awful lot. Now, I can't watch this show. This is an HBO Max show that currently isn't on any UK streamers.
Yeah, so the first two
So
episodes were released. I watched the first one and part of the second one. Um and yeah, I think the humor is there, but it's just it then I kind of like stop myself because I'm like these aren't these characters. Like Constance Wu is great and she is Daphne. They make Daphne an Asian character in this. And so I mean I like the idea of that. That's not the problem. I just think the humor and the tone just don't fit these characters.
isn't Glenn Howerton Fred
I think so. And
as
he's like,
well?
and there's a whole thing of him
Works
like
though, doesn't it?
not.
Does that not just work well? That seems like it would work
It
really
does.
well.
He is really good as Fred. I think all the voice acting is good, but it's just kind of the characterization of them
Okay.
is just it's very off from what we know them to be, and it doesn't feel like them, but more mature. It feels like completely different characters.
Yeah, I get that. I think I brought up Mystery Incorporated before. I think Mystery Incorporated is a perfect way, really, of aging up Scooby-Doo. And I don't mean like they're all old people. I mean make it
Just make it more mature. Yeah.
make it more mature, make it a bit genuinely violent, make it a bit genuinely scary. There's, I believe, a comic book series as well where Scooby-Doo and Mystery Incorporated, that is quite a kind of gory kind of book.
Yeah.
So it's a mature kind of comic book. There's nothing wrong with
No.
having them. I suppose there's nothing wrong with having them in those senses at all. There's nothing wrong with having raunchiness
Yeah.
from these characters if they at least feel somewhat the same, and if therein lies the problem, where they just don't feel like the same characters, then yeah, like you said, they might as well have just gone and made another adult animated show. But there's also
Yeah.
so many of them now, and what they've probably tried doing is something like what that Harley Quinn show does.
Yes, which is kind of what it's been compared to, but it's just not,
And
you know,
the
th-
fact that it's Scooby Doo though, and someone like Harley Quinn is already, you're not necessarily going to give children much Harley Quinn content because there's too
no.
much
And she still
violence.
feels
There's too
like
much kind of
the character, just being able to
yeah,
do all of the things that she couldn't do on, basic cable. So
yeah.
it still feels true to the character in terms of kind of a more raunchier Harley Quinn show. But this feels very much not like these characters. And I think there was a way to make it more mature, like you said, without it kind of stripping away kind of what makes these characters likable and
It's a
and
shame,
and
really.
and familiar to us. Yeah, like it opens with a whole girls naked in the shower scene, but because they're like making a commentary on it, um they're talking about, why is the first episode of a show I always have to have a bunch of nudity? I don't know, sex sells, and then it's like this kind of like we're so smart conversation.
I see.
you know uh you know Shaggy is like a simp for Velma, like he's like in love with her, so he's just really annoying and calling her and leaving her voice messages all the time. And Fred is kind
That's
of an
kind of been the way, hasn't it, for quite a while now with Shaggy and Velma, though, is that it's
yes,
very much like that.
yes,
Never used to be, of course. I mean, if you look back at the older, more original Scooby Doo stuff from the late 60s and the 70s, like I said, if you imagine what Shaggy and Velma would become in the 21st century, you can't see it there.
yeah, no,
None of it's present
not at
there.
all. But yeah, no, it's like it's very like unrequited, like he's just a simp for her and she like doesn't notice
Oh,
him. And
okay.
then she's kind of crushing on Fred, but he's just like a vapid snob, which like that's kind of, you know, a characterization we've seen from Fred, very vain and stuff like that. But he's also like kind of an asshole who like sleeps around with everybody. And then there's a whole thing where like
That's just
the re
Freddie
like
Prinze Jr.'s Fred from the movie.
yes. But then there's just like this whole thing of him like, he has like super hairless skin and all and a boyish face because he
Oh,
hasn't like gone through puberty yet, like for some reason. And then like a whole storyline with Velma and her mother has gone missing. So that's like the biggest mystery that she's always trying to solve. And then her father tells her, "No, your mom just left us. And now I've like knocked up the waitress from the restaurant down the way." And like then in the background, the mistress is like having like a naked pregnancy photo shoot. Like, I,
there's unusual things going on in this
yes.
television
And
show,
then
I
there's
think, isn't
like
there?
this kind of scary entity that only appears to Velma that like grabs at her and like messes with her head and talks to her. So she's trying to figure all that out. People are getting like their brains scooped out of their heads, so they're finding like these bodies and trying to figure out the mystery of who's killing these people. Like Daphne's kind of a terrible bitch, like her and Velma used to be best friends, but now they're not anymore because I guess Daphne got hot and like dumped Velma, like as a friend. So it's just I don't know. Like there are like glimmers of things that feel familiar, but overall just not kind of the kind of familiar characterization that we know these
Yeah.
characters to be. And I think there was a way that they could have done it, but I think they just kind of go so far over the edge that this just feels like it could have been a show with this premise that's just not these characters. So I've
It's
seen quite a few
unfortunate,
people,
really.
yeah, I've seen quite a few people just be like, I will not be watching this. So I don't know. I've only seen kind of people being disappointed with it. So
I don't think there's any reason to make it your entire personality to hate this
Yes.
particular
I mean, there
television
could
show. I
be
think
people
that's a
who
bit
love it and
silly.
think it's smart and love Mindy Kaling for what she's trying to do, like Shaggy's black and Daphne's Asian and all these different things. And I think that's kind of a cool idea. But I think it's more just for fans of the original things. Just the characterization feels just not like them and more mature. It just feels like completely different characters. So I think that's the criticism.
Yeah,
But I,
no, I get that.
while I haven't personally seen people who have been like gushing over how great they think it is, there are probably those people out there. So me personally, I don't know that I'm going to be watching it. I don't think I might give it a chance, and finish that second episode and see kind of where the story goes. But in general, I didn't find myself really having the best time watching it. So
That's fair. That's fair. Unfortunate, I suppose, because I always root for anything
yeah,
Scooby Doo
new coming
related,
out,
really.
or trying to kind of do something different with these characters that
Yeah,
have been around forever. So I think it's smart to kind of refresh them every so often and do something different and new with them. So I was
definitely.
excited for this show, and yeah, just didn't really kind of go where I wanted it to go, or so yeah, Velma.
Velma. But yes,
Jinkies,
please,
Morgan. Jinkies.
jinkies to people who make it their entire personality to hate a particular
Yeah,
TV show,
I'd
which
say watch
is
it,
just
give it a
not what you
chance,
should be
see what
doing.
you think. Yeah.
Because I have seen that myself, to be honest. People on Twitter just literally seeming to make entire Twitter accounts for the
And
sole
sometimes,
purpose
yeah,
of bashing this
things. And
particular
mostly
show, which
times
is
it's
just weird.
it's things they haven't even seen. So, I'd say give it a chance, form your own opinion.
Yeah,
I wouldn't just say like, I could have been like, "Oh, everyone's saying it sucks, so I'm not going to watch it." Like I could have totally been like that because all the reviews I saw people were kind of negative. But I said, "No, I'm going to watch it for myself and see what I think." So, you know.
wisdom from Jeannine.
Yes, I've kind of learned, but.
Well, should we get into our Golden Globes conversation? Because
Yes. So
there's an awful lot to pick apart from here, and whether we actually care about the Golden Globes, whether we look at the Golden Globes, do we even care about the Oscars anymore? Not really, because it is what it is. I'm more interested in the Oscars up to about 95, and then I just kind of go. I don't really care anymore.
well, I mean, there's opportunities. I think this year I do care because we have people like Brendan Fraser who's gonna, who had to kind of step away from Hollywood for so long, kind of getting a newly fresh
Yes, I
opportunity.
was joking. I do care.
Same with Kiki Kwan. Same with potentially Angela Bassett making history. So there are a
Yeah.
lot of things there that I want to see happen at this award show. So, I
I
mean, the
think
Golden Globe.
there's a lot of positive looking things, I think, to take from the winners of the Golden Globes, if they are at all an indication of
Of kind of what happens.
the Oscars themselves, the big one. I mean, I don't even know when the BAFTAs are, because that also obviously is a little bit of an indication.
Yes.
Even though
And
we obviously tend to focus way more on British people and British movies at the BAFTAs
yeah.
than most other people do. But things like the SAG Awards are obviously really
Yeah, those
big as
nominations
well.
just came out recently. So,
It's all the same kind of people. It's all everybody from
it's the
everywhere
same. Yeah,
all at once.
it's always going to be on every list. Jeannine and Stephanie and Michelle and Kiki. So, yeah, I mean, the Golden Globes really had some great moments. I mean, Jennifer Coolidge was absolutely hilarious.
Jennifer Coolidge giving
Just
speeches is my favorite thing at
I
award
mean,
shows.
the fact that they gave her like a full like few minutes just to present an award, so she could tell this story about how she was asked to present the award, and she just goes off on this ridiculous tangent, and she has
She's
that room,
insane.
and everyone just loves her and thinks she's adorable. And I actually watched White Lotus, and
Oh,
her
okay.
yes, her character was so ridiculous on there. So I absolutely, a well deserved win.
Should it be
She
something I should watch? Because I know
I
it's
think
getting an awful lot of awards love.
Yes, I think you should check it out. I think it because the first
Okay.
season, it's about this hotel White Lotus. So the first season takes place in a hotel in a White Lotus hotel in Hawaii. So you're kind of following these different characters around, and then their kind of stories intertwine. It opens where it ends. So it
Okay.
ends where I think people are waiting around an airport, and you hear somebody has died, and then it goes back to kind of the beginning, and then you see these weeks of these people on vacation, all these different like couples and families and different things that lead up to this death that we heard about in the first episode.
Okay.
Then season 2 is in the White Lotus in Italy, and I think the only character that we see that comes back is Jennifer Coolidge's character, and then we get a new set of characters that we're following. You know, Aubrey Plaza's in there, Theo
Okay.
James, yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's a really good show. F. Marie Abraham.
Yeah.
So yes, really great cast, really solid show. Really enjoyed White Lotus. So, yeah, definitely think you should check it out if you can find it because it is an HBO show, of course.
Okay. I think something like that would probably show up on a Now TV,
Okay,
to be
yes,
honest with
yes.
you.
So
So
I
I
did.
would I
It's
would assume
only
it's on that.
2 seasons right now, so it was a really quick, smooth, easy watch. I was hanging out with some friends who had been actively watching it because HBO Max is not the Netflix model. They actually do show release their shows week to week.
Yeah.
Um, so the new episode was coming out while I was there and they wanted to watch it, but I was like, I don't know anything about it. But like when watching an episode without the context, and I think it was like the second to last, like it was like the third episode from the finale. So to watch
Okay.
that episode, and I was able to kind of figure out what they kind of gave me like a brief, overview. I watched that episode and like found myself, okay, I want to see where this is going to go. So then I went and watched the first season, caught up to the second season, and then watched the
Okay.
finale. And yeah,
Good.
so just from getting a brief thing on a season 2 episode and watching that episode, I actually was kind of very invested. So I think it's a good show. Jennifer Coolidge, yeah, she was great on that show. So that made for some really kind of funny moments with her on stage, and just I love the things she talked about in terms of like feeling like you know there wasn't really a place for her, and she's getting older, and what is she going to do, and then you know she was given this opportunity, and now people see her, and like, now the people on her hill invite her to parties, and like she's just so cute, and I absolutely loved her speeches and stories. The fact that she had to set it on the floor because it was too heavy to hold, and it was just a very fun moment.
I, I think she genuinely plays herself a lot of the time,
Yes.
which is or heightened versions of herself, or directors just tell her, Jennifer, please just do what you do in
Yeah.
this particular role, and she's just like, yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, no,
That's
she's really
fine.
crazy on White Lotus. She's very weird and crazy. Um,
Other TV things, I suppose, that are highlights. I mean, I obviously really quite like that House of the Dragon one for was it best
yes.
drama? There's only
Yeah.
3
Mhm.
of them there.
Yeah, nobody was there really. I guess they weren't
And
expecting much because it was a new show. I don't know.
I don't think they were expecting much, because I think they were expecting that show Succession to do an awful to kind of
Oh yeah, and even Better
take
Call Saul in terms of,
everything.
is that considered a
Yeah,
comedy or drama? Because I think maybe
I've
it
no
wasn't
idea.
it its last season, so that's kind of
Yeah,
when
it
those
was.
shows pick up their awards, and so I think they just were not
I'm
expecting
really
much.
I'm actually really glad it did, because I obviously loved House of the Dragon, and then
Yes, for
Millie
it to be a new
Alcock just
show.
looked like she was absolutely hammered
Yes, by the end, because
when
it's that was near
when
the
they were
end of the
giving that
show.
speech.
So she was so wasted, yes. In terms of directors, I was, hoping for the Daniels to win, but to see Spielberg up there, winning for a story that was more personal to him,
Yeah, you
this
can't
is kind of
fault
his
it.
life story. So, and he's such a good person. Like I've seen him, like he is very just an unproblematic king. Like he's such a good person. Like I saw an interview, they did like an actors roundtable, and it was a great one. It was like Austin Butler and Kiki Kwan and Brendan Fraser and Colin Farrell um and
I still can't be doing with Austin Butler. I'd just like to point that out.
which
I
also
can't deal with him.
on
I
that
can't deal
round
with him.
table, like people have pointed on that round table, he kind of was kind of just he's telling a story about, oh, well, one of my friends told me, I was just singing a Christmas song on the radio, an Elvis Christmas song, and they told me I should play Elvis. And then I was playing a song at the piano, and they were like, yes, we need to figure this out. We need to find a way for you to play Elvis. And then when the movie came out, the friend like pushed me to really kind of go for it. Then somebody cuts that clip to a clip years ago when he was dating Vanessa Hudgens, and she's telling that same exact story. But on this roundtable, instead of just saying my ex-girlfriend, she's a great person, she's the one who pushed me, da 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 da, he just says a friend. And so completely like doesn't even acknowledge his 10-year girlfriend at the time who kind of encouraged him to even go for Elvis. So that kind of once I saw that kind of comparative thing, I was like, I don't know how I feel about Austin Butler.
I just can't be doing with him and his stupid face and the fact that he still continues to somehow talk like Elvis.
Yeah.
I don't
Someone
get it.
asked him
It's
in the
weird. It's
in like the
concerning.
post interview. Somebody asked him about that, and he's like, "Well, I don't notice that I'm doing that, but maybe when you play things so long, like it's like if you lived in a foreign country for so long, it just becomes part of your DNA." Like, okay, like, Madonna.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's unusual. Austin.
So yes, he says he doesn't notice it, but obviously, yeah,
everybody else does.
Yes,
but okay,
an odd thing. But yes, he was.
He won his award.
Yeah.
He won his award for Elvis, didn't he?
Yes. I mean, I thought it was you. I know you haven't seen it, but it was a great performance, despite kind of the trippiness of the movie because it is Baz Luhrmann. And aside from the weird things Tom Hanks was doing, notice he didn't get nominated because he was doing some weird things with accent wise and stuff.
Very, very unusual things.
Austin Butler gave a great performance, so
it's fair enough. Yes, it's fair enough. I know his performance in it is highly regarded, so I can't fault that. Really.
Yes, yeah. So I think it was deserved in terms of his performance. But yeah, to get back to that, to Ke Huy Quan and Steven Spielberg, he talked about how every year after doing Indiana Jones, Steven Spielberg to this day still sends him a Christmas present every year. Like
he is. Spielberg's a nice guy.
Yes, I mean, Drew Barrymore's his goddaughter, and he always looks out for her and takes care of her. I think when she did like a Playboy cover, like he sent her a note saying "cover up" or something like that. Like he drew
the coat on.
He sent, he sent her the cover where he drew clothes on her and sent it to her and told her to cover up. I
love it.
Yeah, so he's been a father figure to many people. He's just a creative soul. So while I was like, Steven Spielberg, he has so many awards. He doesn't need this. I didn't feel that way when he won because this was a very personal story for him. And the fact that even in his speech he talked about I had been putting off telling the story for a long time. Yes, I've peppered moments of this story into my other films. It was a lot of this was in E.T. and other things, in Close Encounters. But I was always
you would get something like this.
But I was so scared to tell the story. But now I'm in my 70s, so I figured if I'm gonna tell it, I have to do it now. So the fact that this was something he was putting off because he was just afraid, and so for him to win for this, no matter how many accolades and credits and work this man has been known for, and a man who's changed kind of the course of movies. He created the PG-13 rating, for Christ's sake. So the fact that he has all of this, you still can be happy for him winning yet another thing because of how personal the story was to him. So I was happy about that.
Stuff like that doesn't affect the most deserved person should win any given award. Sometimes they are given for the story purposes. It would be a phenomenal thing if this individual, for example, if Brendan Fraser ends up winning the Oscar, say, because obviously he didn't win the Golden Globe, but then again, Brendan Fraser, the Hollywood foreign press don't have a particularly pleasant relationship.
he
for good reason.
Yes.
So he was never going to win, even if he did deserve to, because he has had very significant issues with that organization in the past.
Yes.
But if Brendan Fraser ends up winning the Oscar, it will feel like more of a story award.
Yeah,
perhaps rather than now. I admittedly haven't seen
The Whale.
Movie.
It was a really great performance. So I could see how people would think it looked like okay, the story of it would be great, but also the story of Stallone winning would have been great as well. To win again, for the same character, that you played however many years ago, that
Of
would have been the
course it
story.
would.
But then
Of
they give it to
course it
Mark
would have been.
Rylance, and I will never
Yeah,
be happy about that. So, you have to kind of know that that's not always kind of the thing in the
it's
main,
not. It's not. But it is an element. It is an
Yes,
element.
yes. But
Uh,
no, I saw The
Now, I
Whale,
think in
and
terms of
it was a beautiful
Spielberg,
performance. So,
I do think in terms of Spielberg, that doesn't necessarily come up because, like you said, what's another award for Spielberg really? Like, it's not going to change that much in terms of how everybody views Steven Spielberg's. Spielberg's influence cannot be understated in the
yeah,
world of movies. It's not possible. It's
yeah,
just immense. It is one of the most immense contributions in movie history.
yes,
Steven Spielberg's contribution to this world.
yeah.
But thankfully, I'm going to be able to see The Fabelmans, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
When it's
So,
out here. So I should
yeah.
be able to actually see it before I go on holiday, which is quite
Oh,
nice.
nice. Yeah.
So and I will be going to see it. But I'm glad that he won this, and like you say, sure, I would love the Daniels to win the Oscar as well. But
Because the undertaking of that movie, just the
yeah,
creativity of it
just for creativity
alone,
purposes.
yeah, we haven't
And
seen anything like that.
do we give it to does anybody else come into that? I mean, I forget who's nominated for things really, director wise, but I can't have any issue with Spielberg winning anything really because it just is Spielberg, and when you know the story of what went behind the Fabelmans, then you understand it even more
Yeah,
because it's
and
one of
to a
the
man,
most personal movies, if not the most personal movie he has ever made.
yes, and to a man who's won pretty much anything you can win, winning an award for a movie that he had been putting off because of fear because it was so personal. I think that makes it mean something to him after getting so many other
Well,
kinds
yeah,
of
that's
awards.
true.
So I
Yeah.
liked that moment for him. And then just to kind of bounce off back into Ki Kwan, just the fact that he thanked Spielberg for giving him that opportunity as a 12-year-old kid to do this. And and to have him in the room was so special for him.
Well,
And
this was the
just,
speech that made everybody cry.
I mean, it was the first award of the night, and um that whole room was just so happy for him, to see people see him, someone who has felt not seen for so long. His story is very much kind of a relatable thing. You're not just a child actor, but you're also a minority actor. So when you get older, you're
Yeah.
not that cute kid anymore, and you're a minority, and you're not seeing any roles for Asian actors. So what are you going to do? So, this is your dream, but you had a shining moment doing the thing that you loved, but now you have to give it up. So, um, the fact that then thanks to Daniels for remembering him. They remembered me and
Yeah.
put me in this, and the fact that also he always credits seeing Crazy Rich Asians being the movie that showed
Yeah.
him that there is a place for him. And so that just kind of always speaks to my spirit of representation mattering, and people not really seeing that all the time. Because that's the
Oh,
movie that brought him
absolutely.
back. And also on that roundtable, he revealed that the actor who played Chunk was his entertainment lawyer and
Oh,
negotiated
yeah.
his contract for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah,
So I thought
which
that was
is nice. Yes, of course
right,
it is. It's
so
very
cute.
sweet.
So
But
it was
no,
just a great moment, a great speech. I was so happy for. Like you could feel that whole room was so happy for him. So I hope he gets that Oscar because,
which
oh my gosh,
100. Oh my god, he does.
I was
He does need
bawling.
to, and
Yeah,
I know it's a tougher situation because
yeah,
obviously we're in. Mind you, I mean, he is the lead actor of Everything Everywhere, so he wouldn't be able to be put in a supporting actor category.
I mean, I think that his chances are better at supporting because I think they would put him up for supporting, so he wouldn't have to go up against Brendan, since I think Brendan is kind of the big.
Yeah,
And I also liked that because I liked that he wasn't gonna have to go up against Brendan because both of them are kind of
yeah, because
living
they
in this
split them.
kind of moment of kind of recognition that they after a very tough Hollywood life moments for them. So I kind of don't want them to be in the same category, honestly.
No, I get that. And I suppose I just think about things logically rather than
Kind of what
what will
works
actually
best.
happen.
Yes,
Because
yes.
what will happen is people will just be put in categories that don't maybe 100% suit what they actually did, but what will get them the win the most, or what will likely get them the win the most.
Yes.
Of course, we're talking about the Globes here, not necessarily the Oscars, but it does all
Kind of
influence
feed
each
into
other.
each other. Yeah.
Ke Huy Quan's speech, I do genuinely just think was unbelievable. It's the speech that I saw. It was the best,
Yes.
most heartfelt, most emotional, genuine tear in the eye speech that I did see from all the highlights of this particular ceremony that were coming out. I just think he's a very emotional person. He's a very positively energetic force of a human being that you just can't help attach yourself onto.
Yes.
And you feel that immediately. You feel absolutely immediately.
Yeah.
And in such a obviously very short time, you actually get to make these speeches. He did that again. And I spoke about last week how much I just adore everything everywhere all at once as the best movie I've seen in years, best new movie I've seen in years. I can't. I want all the awards for him, and I know obviously him and Michelle Yeoh and Stephanie Hsu and Jamie. I know they've all got awards and nominations from all these random different awards bodies that they get. They must be piling high of boxes of awards and things like this. Every single one of them, and rightfully so.
Yes.
But on the other kind of best actor front, had Colin Farrell winning for Banshees, which I thought was a beautiful speech that he's giving there, because it's obviously there's a bit of a story to his obviously as well, isn't there? Because he has won one previous Golden Globe, which was for the other Martin McDonagh film he did, starring Brendan Gleeson as well.
Yeah.
So it all fits into one.
Well,
nice
same.
bow, nice
And as
tie.
someone who had a very similar situation as well was Angela Bassett. Like, she went up there and said,
Oh God, yeah.
In 94, she was up there in January accepting the Golden Globe for What's Love Got to Do with It. And she's making history as the first MCU actor to be nominated for their performance in an MCU film for their acting. So, yes, they've gotten, makeup and special effects and costuming. But this is the first acting, nomination and win. So if she were to go on and get that Oscar after 30 plus films, since 2008 this has been going, like 14 plus years, like, to be the first, this Black female actress, to get the first nomination for their performance in the whole of the MCU is such a cool thing. And her speech was so great, and talking about, Chadwick, and that he was kind of looking down on them, and like what they had to go through. And I absolutely loved her speech. She looked gorgeous. So I'm very excited to see what comes out of this when Oscar time rolls around, because I would love to see her win that Best Supporting Actress for that.
I'm really happy she won this, and I would also enjoy seeing that, not even from just let's give it to someone from the MCU point of view, because there's plenty of elements to the MCU these days that are just dismally worse than they were 7 years ago. That's just a fact, I think.
Yes. But I mean, and then in terms of just people
yes, and this is what I was getting at in terms of individual performances. When you actually think about it, the actors don't matter to the MCU. The actors don't matter to the MCU. The characters matter. If you embody that character, it's like you could have given Iron Man an Oscar for Endgame. You couldn't give it to Downey Jr. because, like, what? He's in the middle of all this.
Yes. So
The
for her to
individual,
transcend that,
I just think he's massive.
Yeah.
But I think it's for a reason, and I think it's the reason being that Wakanda Forever is actually 100% the most real world personal feeling MCU movie because of the actual tragic circumstances of its making.
Yes. I think that's
That is
definitely
why. That is why the awards are genuinely caring about it. And that's why the awards won't care about any of the others.
Yeah.
Not that they should, not that there's not somewhat better movies, not that there's
not actually
not
see
that there may
real
be.
stories and nuances and character moments and performances
Of course there is. Of course there is.
could warrant all kinds of things, but
Of
the
course there
personal
is,
nature
but
of this, you
there's
felt
something
that.
more. There is
Yes, you
something.
felt these emotions beyond these characters. You felt these emotions for the loss of a friend in the morning and having to kind
That's
of
why.
restructure this whole kind of storyline after his loss and make a movie that was entertaining, that lived up to, the future of what the MCU is going to be, to acknowledge what Chadwick did before, to pay respects to him, to have these other characters step up. Like, so many things they had to do with this movie, and I think they were able to do it, and the performance she gave in that just was so
Well, it
strong.
is. I
So
mean, Angela Bassett just generally is a powerhouse
yeah.
of an individual. And yes, we love Angela Bassett. We love
Yes.
Kiki Kwan. Where's the sign
And
there? It is.
yes,
But we
and
love
Michelle
Angela
Yeoh
Bassett.
winning as well for Everything Everywhere
Yeah.
All at Once, and her talking about, again, also talking kind of about representation and not seeing people who look like her, and being able to do what she was able to do. And love that the music was trying to stop her, and she told him to shut up and said she could beat them up, because obviously she really could.
She certainly can.
And talking about being over 60 and, like, finding a place for yourself. I think a lot of the actresses kind of had those moments. Her and Jennifer Coolidge really talking about being a woman aging in Hollywood, like, is a hard thing that people don't really think about, like, having your place and keeping your place, and all of that kind of thing.
It has
So
unfortunately always has been.
yes. And so for these women to kind of come up there in their speeches and talk about it, I think was just a great thing. But yeah, just she had a great moment. We get into TV a little bit. I actually binged Abbott Elementary over
Oh,
the
good.
big kind of New Year's weekend, and it was such a fun show. It was hilarious, very much kind of your Office vibe. But Quinta Brunson, the fact that, like, she was just making, like, silly kind of vines and YouTube videos, and now she's running this show that's winning all these awards. She won, so just so really, you should watch Abbott Elementary. It's
I
a
should.
great
No,
show.
I know.
It's
I know
really funny.
full well. I know full well that I should be. I should watch that. Do not get me wrong. I was kind of very much drawn in by their acceptance, if you could call it a speech, rather than a gaggle of shouting people, which
Yeah.
it kind of was. It was just them all going, we're excited. And if it's that kind of vibe, then yeah, sure. I mean, now I mean, I know there's an awful lot of winners and things, and we can't be here for 17 hours
Yes.
today. Is there any other absolute highlights that you wanted to talk about from this? I would imagine when the Oscars themselves roll around, because some people don't like the Globes, do they? Some people don't look at the Globes as legitimate. I always like to look at them as an indicator for the Oscars.
In general,
and for I think some great performances, and I often look at performances more than individual movies when it comes to the Globes. I think some performances in history that I've really, really admired that were nowhere near Oscars have won Globes. So I give them a bit more legitimacy.
Yeah, like
I do
Angela
give them
Bassett, she
legitimacy.
did win the Globe for What's Love Got to Do with It, but she didn't win the Oscar for it. So yeah, I think it's still a strong way to acknowledge kind of great performances. I just thought this show bred some really great speeches, some really emotional speeches. RRR, their song Natu
Yes,
Natu
Natu
one, which I
Natu.
was so excited
Yes.
for that song to win. Um, I wanted them to win, the non-English speaking film uh, as well, but
Yeah, I'll have to check out that Argentina movie because
yeah.
if it's better than RRR, it's gonna. Well,
Yeah, so
it's probably one of those
hoping.
horrible movies, isn't it? It's probably one of those hard, horrible, nasty movies about difficult times.
Yes, yeah, it looks very kind of somber and depressing a little bit, but
Why can't we
come
just
in comparison to RRR, so I hope it wins. I hope it gets nominated at the Oscars for best non-English speaking language film. I think is kind of what they're calling it now because they don't want to say foreign language, but I think it's more
okay,
it is good not
non-English,
to call
okay.
it foreign. Um, uh, so yes, I hope it does get a nomination for that, and Natu gets a song nomination because yes, for it to beat out Lady Gaga and Rihanna and
Well, I
uh,
just think if Natu Natu can beat out those at the Globes, why can't it beat them out at the Oscars?
and which means we're potentially getting a performance. So
Oh, yes.
yes, to
Get
see that on
get
the
them both
stage,
up there,
yes, recreating
fully
that
geared
whole
out.
dance, yes.
Yes.
Oh, again,
Yes, this is
yes.
what we need.
So great. I'm
This is
excited.
what we
So yeah, I
need.
just got myself
Nobody
excited.
wants to see another Lady Gaga performance.
Yeah.
People are tired of those. There's plenty of those. I'm
Plus,
at the
I
deep end.
prefer
Watch
the.
as I dive in. We don't need more Star is Born. Get away with it.
I
Now,
mean, and I
after
preferred. Prefer the One Republic song in the
One
Maverick
Republic.
over Lady Gaga song. I will be honest. The beach football scene song is a lot better. It's a lot more
Oh,
fun.
I don't even remember what the song was, to be
It's that I
honest.
Ain't Worried song. You haven't heard it like everywhere with the whistling.
Probably, yes,
I
but
ain't
I don't
worried about
remember
it
that.
right now. You haven't heard that
Oh,
song
God,
all over the
horrible
place.
song.
What?
Horrible song.
That
Get
is
rid of it.
that is such a good song.
Natu Natu.
I'm just saying, you're saying get Lady Gaga out, well then bring the other song in from Top Gun Maverick.
Fine. Yes. Okay. Yep.
So
Fine.
miserable, Morgan. So miserable.
I'm not
Um,
miserable.
but yes, overall a good show. I mean, Jared Carmichael, he seemed to be this very kind of somber vibed host. Uh,
I don't
I
know.
don't.
I don't watch the shows, so I don't know the
Well,
host
I
and
did
what they
send
do
you
really.
his opening monologue, hoping you would watch it, but I guess you did not. So,
I apologize.
yes, he was just very much kind of talking about the only reason he was asked to host was because he was black and kind of just brought up all the kind of racial stuff in terms of the Hollywood Foreign Press
Oh no, I did see
Association.
this. I did see
Yes, yeah.
this. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, I did see
that
this.
was his opening kind of monologue. And so people were kind of just weird about it and it was very kind of quiet and weird like laughter that like didn't feel. It was just very kind of it was odd.
I mean, I think it's a fair point to
No,
make.
like what he was saying was very honest and true, but just the delivery of it, like I don't think people knew how to react to it. That's just what
But
made it weird.
is it better or worse than when Ricky Gervais used to host and just literally tear everybody apart?
I mean, when he would, there were solid laughs still. So, I mean, I think he did the same thing. He just did it very much in a somber kind of chill kind of tone,
I guess
you
that's
know,
well,
whereas Ricky
that's
Gervais
his
was kind of
vibe,
just
isn't it?
lecturing them. So I don't know. It felt just how people just didn't know how to react. It just made it awkward. But like, I think people are kind of rewarding him for like what he was saying. But just the
Yeah.
delivery seemed to just, I don't know, people were confused. But yes, overall I think just the speeches, the moments in terms of who won and kind of the feeling in the room that felt like everyone was really excited for the winners, I think just made it feel more special than what it could have felt. So,
Yeah.
I think everyone pretty much who I wanted to win won, and people who maybe won that I didn't want to win still had great moments up there. So, yeah, overall, I think it was a really good show. So I
You end
enjoyed watching it. I actually watched the whole thing, so I enjoyed it.
you always end up getting that vibe from the Globes way more so than the Oscars anyway, because of just the atmosphere of the room. I mean, the
Yeah,
Oscars is very, very formal theatre situation. It's
yeah,
not a lets everybody get hammered,
sit
sat
down
around this
and drink,
table
and
situation.
yes, this is always kind of the more chill drinking, eating, hanging out kind of show.
And I
Everyone
do actually wish
shouting
the
at Brad
Oscars.
Pitt. Like there were
Yeah,
several people calling out to him there without the name.
I do actually wish the Oscars were more like that.
Yes, not as formal.
Me being me, hearkening back to the very, very early days of the Academy Awards when they did used to have it, I believe, in the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Yeah.
Rather than, whatever the theatre's called now.
The Kodak Theater, I think. Yeah.
The Kodak. Is it still called the Kodak?
I don't know.
I know, I can picture it. It's got brown columns. I know what it looks like. I don't know what it's called now. But yeah, have it in a hotel room. Get everybody hammered. Why not?
Might be too many
I don't
people.
understand why you wouldn't.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it can fit as many people now, because now you have so many like special effects people and all the kinds of behind the scenes things.
Okay, but a big hotel room, somewhere.
Like, do you see? Can you compare classic movie credits to movie credits today that go on for like a full
yes, okay,
30 minutes, whereas the movie credits that were like the first minute and a half of the opening.
Yeah.
And then the end.
But not every movie needs. Oh, okay, fair enough. We need it in
I don't think all
theater,
those people
but still.
fit. That's the only thing. I do get what you're saying, but yes.
Why can they fit in the Globes then?
Because.
Why can they fit in the Golden Globes then?
I don't know. Where were the Golden Globes at?
I have no idea. That's the point. But they're all round tables drinking. So why can't you just have that exact same thing at the Oscars? Is it because the Oscars view themselves as fancier? Yes, I do. That's definitely why.
Yes, it's a lot more snobbish.
That's definitely why.
It's a lot.
Go back to having fun.
Although I think last year seemed to have kind of like tables, because if we think of like the Will Smith Jada setup, it was kind of like that, wasn't it?
I don't remember. Oh, I know it must have been.
Yeah.
Oh, it must have been. Oh, well, I take everything back then. Whatever. Do whatever you want.
That felt like 100 years ago, but...
It does feel like 100 years ago.
But yes,
anyway,
yes,
we do have other things we want to talk about today. Yes. We're at fear of going ridiculously long with the show. We don't like to do that.
No.
Because we do want to talk a little bit now and give our full review of M3gan.
Yes.
Because we couldn't last week, because only Jeannine was able to see it, because for some reason what M3gan and Universal and BlumHouse decided to do was we'll have it in the US for 1 week and then everywhere else a week after. Not a month after, that would feel a little bit more reasonable, or on the same week that would of course feel perfect. No, we'll just do it an annoying week after.
Yeah, like
so
why?
Nobody can talk about anything with anybody
at the same time. Yeah. So you finally got to see M3gan.
I did.
What were your thoughts?
Look, I really quite liked M3gan. I think it surprised me for a lot of it, actually, and surprised me in the ways of it wasn't as nasty as I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought there was going to be quite a lot of splatter.
They did cut it back. They did cut it back because once people saw those original trailers and people were obsessed with the dancing, obsessed with it, they were like, oh, we can get more people in if we make it PG-13. So I believe I heard or read something that they did cut down the gore so that they could. It was originally R, and they cut it down.
That is a shame.
Yes. So who knows if there will be a copy that, a director's cut or,
yeah, that
unrated.
Is a shame. And I would be very interested in seeing an unrated cut of M3gan, actually, because I was expecting more of a fun splatterfest at times with some of the kills and that kind of stuff. As a satire, I think it was really quite good, and I wasn't necessarily expecting that level of honest intelligence. Yes, honest, self-aware intelligence to come out of this movie. I was expecting silliness.
Yeah.
And I was expecting people were referring to this movie as campy. this isn't a campy movie.
I mean, there are elements of campiness to it. Like, Megan kind of gets mauled by a dog, and then she's still talking in her very straight robot voice, plus her hair's all messed up and she leaves and things. Like, things like that felt very
I think our
silly.
definition
And
I think our definition of campiness is a little bit
but I think
different.
no, campy in terms of just, you know, you're mostly playing it serious. You know what you have. You know what your story is. You know that it's kind of crazy and weird, and you are winking at the camera. You let us know that you are aware of kind of how far-fetched this is. Like moments of her playing toy related songs on the piano, like she's playing Toy Soldiers on the piano. Like
Now, yes, that
the fact that she's
and
singing Titanium as like a
yes,
lullaby, things
I
like
was
that
just about
felt
to mention
campy
that as
and very
well.
much winky to the camera to
But
me.
that was only small elements, and I think there's elements of Megan as a character
Yeah, no, I wouldn't
that are,
call the movie wholly itself campy,
and
but
the,
I think there
and
were
this is what
moments.
I'm saying. I think
Okay.
Megan as a character at times has a wink to the camera element to her, which I very, very much enjoy. But I did see people referring to this movie as campy, and this is not a campy movie. This is a satirical movie, 100%. This is at its best, I think, when it's at its most satirical. I think it apologies for that. It plays on technological horror very well,
Yeah,
and
like they really
technological horror,
mhm.
scientific horror, scientific advancement,
The
not the drawbacks,
yeah, well, yeah, the
fears,
drawbacks, the
the
kind of
fears
yes, the fears
of
that people could
scientific
potentially
advancement,
have. Yes, yeah,
the fears of technological advancement, something that has been present in horror fiction since Frankenstein the book in
yeah.
1818. So that
You
long
know,
ago.
it's something very much like Age of Ultron. Like you have the best of intentions in creating something, but when you do a little too good of a job creating it, you
Yeah,
create a murder robot like Tony
yeah,
Stark.
precisely. And it's kind of exactly what happens here. But
Yeah.
I like it as a very, very modern, a very, very today installment in the renowned history of technological advancement horror
Yes, and I
and
think
scientific advancement horror. I love it for that, because you go one step too far. You think you're more intelligent than what you're creating. You think you can play God a bit, and it comes back to bite you. And that's exactly what happens, obviously,
yes.
in Megan, while being at times very, very funny. I think Megan herself, I mean, I don't even know, like, for some reason, I didn't look this up or anything else. How was Megan portrayed? Was it
So they
somebody, a human
so
being?
so I saw James of Dead Meat. He was interviewing Jason Blum and James Wan, and they were very secretive. They didn't really want to say too much about
Okay.
how they did it, but I kind of saw a few other things, and there was some puppetry involved, but then also an
Yeah.
actual girl
Yeah.
wearing kind of prosthetic mask and thing for certain
That's what I
scenes. So
kind
I
of
think it
figured
was
it
a
was.
combination of a real person and puppetry.
Okay. That makes
And maybe some
that makes
CGI
perfect
thrown in there.
sense.
Um,
Yeah.
but yes, like even
I
to the point where, in the early stages of creating Megan and they asked her to display confusion and she just does this scary ass smirk and they can't get her
yeah.
to stop doing it. Like that should have been enough to tell you. Like
I just think I think there's an awful lot of fun to be had with it. There's an awful lot of fun to be had with it. But likewise, it's a movie that actually takes itself very, very seriously. And that could come across as its downfall.
well no,
Because
I think it needed that
because there
balance.
are, of course it needed the balance, but I mean in terms of it having wink to the camera moments in there, it having purposely silly moments in there that were clearly there, that clearly intentional,
Yes. I
that
mean,
that were, for me, the highlights kind of the movie, the entertainment factor of the movie is in its M3gan kind of being a bit silly in her obsession, in her kills, in her manic kind of protectiveness. This is where this is the most drawing features of this movie, I think, that would
Yes,
bring
those moments.
people
But I mean,
to there.
even I think it's you needed that balance of kind of the emotional aspects, the
You
the
did,
girl
yes,
losing
you
the
did.
girl losing her parents, and then kind of the issues with the aunt not knowing what to do, so she creates M3gan to kind of deal with her so that she doesn't, so that that strains their relationship. And the aunt makes a lot of mistakes, so I like that they depicted things like that, like the difficulty of this situation of taking on this child who's lost her parents. You don't really know how to handle it, so you kind of put it off and think you're fixing the problem, but you're just making it worse. And kind of, I like them depicting the strain on their relationship and kind of her you know very negative connection that was building between the girl and M3gan, to where she wasn't listening to her aunt, and she kind of became addicted and obsessed to having M3gan around and all these things. So I like that those elements of kind of realness were peppered in to balance kind of the more crazy far-fetched things and the campy elements. Because like now I'm thinking even about the opening when they do that kind of Furby commercial with a girl sitting at her in her backyard at her dog's grave. Like you would not see that in a kids commercial, but they in this world that is
Yes,
a
exactly.
normal kind of commercial that would play on TV. Then you get this weird Furby toy, and so things
Yeah.
like that. I think they were able to find a clear balance between the kind of more serious emotional aspects and kind of the kind of more sillier things. And I think it worked well together. I wasn't like I didn't feel like the tones were at odds with each other. I think everything kind of molded really well, melded really well, and crafted a really fun story in general.
No, and that's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. I think I also think it is balanced very, very well. It is just the genuine seriousness of some parts of this movie was unexpected. It was unexpected for me going into this movie.
Okay.
I was not expecting full legitimate. I was expecting a ridiculously simple kind of by the numbers, just mentally insane slasher.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. And for some reason, I feel like that's what I was advertised.
Yeah.
But what I got from it was the satire that I really, really liked. I mean, the entire toy funky company or whatever it's called, I just think is great. That CEO guy was just phenomenal as a
Yes, he's
caricature.
so good of
That,
somebody in that position. Yeah.
and that entire world, that entire building is filled with caricatures, and I love that for it. But the genuine heartfelt moments between Allison Williams and her niece were not what I was expecting in this movie. I was expecting something a little bit distanced from any sort of emotion, really, and something that felt not as, I mean, I'm not saying the movie was deep, but not caring about any sort of emotion that
Yeah.
people had towards each other. And the movie did care about its character relationships, and I just didn't think it would, because I don't think that was the movie that was advertised.
Yeah. S
But the
so it
fact we
ended up
did
being kind
get
of a
that,
nice
and
surprise, yeah.
a very nice surprise, the fact that we did get that, the fact it was well balanced, really, really pleasantly surprised me as well.
Yeah, and I think,
And structurally, how the thing kind of build up, how M3gan's obsession builds up, how M3gan learns more and more and becomes that more attached to Katie,
yeah,
to
and
get as insane as she ends up and
more
snapping as she ends up
detached
doing.
to kind of yeah, and more detached to kind of what death means and what taking life means, and kind of
Yeah.
not really understanding the extent of something like that. Um, and also I think there was an effort to kind of make the tech make sense.
There
You
was.
know,
I don't
the
understand a lick of it because
no,
I'm not a techie
me
person.
neither, but, like, I think the time they took to kind of explain it and try to make it make sense to a novice person watching it, I think was
But
was
yeah,
was an important thing because you're dealing with something really kind of weird and crazy and, there is kind of tech that's similar to something like this. So the fact that they really took the effort to kind of make it feel like something like this could really exist and, you know, how she works on it and how she explains it and how she's kind of working on it with her team, all of that felt very real to someone who doesn't really understand that kind of stuff. So I like little moments and efforts like that to
yeah.
ground it in some way when you're kind of dealing with these kind of crazier things. I
It
also
it
think, uh,
it legitimized what was going on, and
yes,
it's something that the best of technological horror throughout its history has also done. It's
yes,
legitimized what was
is
going on.
making that
It's
make
made
sense.
the science somewhat understandable
Yes, and
rather
I
than it
think
just being,
just a bunch of
you
jibber
know,
jabber nonsense or,
exactly.
um, but I think also like a movie that definitely was trying to do this, but I don't think really pulled off the execution was the Child's Play remake.
Ah,
In
okay.
that film, that Chucky was a kind of AI thing that was connected to your house and
Yeah.
connected to all your devices and all kinds of stuff, and then kind of develops this sentience. So, I think that movie tried to do what Megan does, but they didn't have as much satire. They didn't have the kind of wink to the camera type things. Uh, they didn't have as much self awareness, which I think in general the Child's Play franchise has a self awareness. So that movie didn't
Oh,
really
yeah.
have that. So it was definitely very much like what Megan did, but Megan had that wink to the camera, had that play into the satire and fun of it, whereas Child Play kind of tried to play it a little bit more straight, so it didn't play as well. So I like that Megan actually kind of found the balance of that kind of story, and I do definitely now get the fun little arguments happening between Megan and Chucky. I think the latest one I've seen
Yes.
has been really great. Um, Chucky, I think he said something like, "You can see Megan if you want, but she'll never be the OG." And Megan quote tweeted it, "Okay, boomer."
Works.
Like,
It makes sense. It
and
fits.
then Chucky came back with like a comment maybe like 5 or 6 hours later. And then somebody like replied like, "Okay, Chucky had to wait, had to sit for 5 hours to figure out that
Oh
comeback."
dear.
So
Oh dear.
yes, the fact that like Chucky and Megan are kind of fighting on the interwebs is great. And I
It
definitely
is.
get, because she's kind of the new era of that type of thing, which the new Child's Play tried to do, but didn't quite make it work. So
But
I
I
had
mean,
so much
look,
fun with
the thing
Megan.
is, I think the thing of what works in Child's Play is that obviously it's supernatural.
Yes, the original, the
In
original.
the original,
Yeah.
the entire original series of it is based around the supernatural element of merging one's soul into a doll and things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's not the same
As
as
what that's
Megan.
the yes.
That is a created artificial robot, android, whatever. What's Megan actually called? Mark 3
3
generated android, whatever it is,
Android, something like that, yeah.
something. But I really, really did have a lot of fun with this movie. I have to still kind of remind myself that it wasn't, never felt like a horror movie to me. It felt like a sci-fi satire.
Okay. I mean,
And I just don't, I think it,
had it been more gory,
certainly,
would it have felt more like a horror movie to
certainly.
you?
And I think that's simply because that's what I was expecting. And I think because of what I was expecting, I said, okay, give me some splatter. And then I didn't get some splatter,
No.
but I still liked it. I
Okay.
have to kind of sit more and realize that this didn't feel like, I've called it technological horror. I think it fits into technological horror very, very well. It does. Of course
Yeah.
it does. But it wasn't as horror fueled as I thought it would be. And this clearly comes down to the decisions to cut the rating down to a PG-13, Oh no, but then again, you say it was a PG-13. In Britain, it is actually rated as a 15.
Okay.
It is actually, which is the equivalent to R.
Oh.
So, but I still felt that there was not
Yeah,
the
no,
splatter in
like,
there. There was not
yeah,
the
no,
gore.
I think it was originally here to be like a full R with like showing more of the gore and things like that. But because the trailer picked up so much buzz and they knew people were going to kind of flock to this movie to get more butts in seats, they changed it to get more people in. Um,
I mean,
but yeah, like
I can
I think
totally understand that.
and I feel like they cut around those things well enough that you still got the sense of kind of the terror and fear and horror of it. But I would have definitely loved to see more kind of goriness out of some of these kills
I
and
actually, I
situations.
actually, I actually expected more kills as well.
Okay.
Like, I don't actually think there was that many kills,
No, there
really,
weren't that
was
many,
there?
but I do love the kind of creepier moments with Megan when she kind of starts talking when she's not
Yes.
supposed to, or when you
Yeah.
think she's off but she's not, or when she looks to the side, or when she's actually on, and and these creepy stares that she gives people, and when she started chasing that boy on all fours, like all kinds of just creepy movements that she does. I think those played into kind of the eeriness of
Yeah.
of what this movie was going for.
I just think what I appreciated about this movie the most was really not what I thought I would appreciate about this movie the most. And I really, really enjoyed going to see it. I
Yeah.
think it's a really surprisingly intelligent satire, genuinely heartfelt at times when it needs to be. I think Allison Williams is great in it, and I've
Yes.
definitely seen the girl before in
Um,
something.
I think she was the youngest girl in Haunting of Hill House.
Ah, okay.
Yes,
She's great.
the one who was scared of the bent neck lady.
Ah, that'd be why. That'd be
Yeah,
why she's good.
yeah,
Yes. No, I thought she was great as well.
yeah. Like the very kind
Everybody,
of defiant moments and the confused moments, and her being in this new place, and uh,
yeah,
her when she's with the therapist and she doesn't want to talk to her, and yeah,
everything in this movie works. Megan is appropriately creepy herself. I wish there was an unrated version. I wish there was
yes,
more
hopefully,
gore.
yeah. And I
That's
love
my
that they
one
opened it up.
drawback.
They left it open to potential kind of sequels and things like
Oh, of
that.
course they
So,
did. But
yes.
that's my one drawback
Yeah. I
is
wish they would have just kind of
I
gone for the
wanted
gore.
more of a gore fest.
This movie still would have done well without being, I think, a PG-13. So,
I think it would have been because I
we're
think
really
having a marketing campaign that it has had has been
yes.
genius, really.
Having
I
those
mean,
Megans kind of showing up at special events and things like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's made. I mean, it's done what the movie did. It's made people want to get a Megan, and they shouldn't be wanting to get a Megan because you shouldn't
I
want to get a
mean,
Megan
Jason
because you
Blum
might
dressed up
kill
as
you.
Megan for Halloween before the movie had even come out.
Jason Blum's a
So.
weirdo. Jason Blum's a very good horror producer,
Yes,
very good.
yes.
But he's also a weirdo, a good weirdo, not a bad weirdo.
Yeah.
But there's Megan fever going around, and it's still very much present.
Yes.
And I think I know this because my parents have seen advertisements for Megan and gone like, "Oh, that looks quite fun, actually." And that just
Wow.
doesn't happen when it comes to movies like this.
Wow.
So I know the marketing on it's
It's
good.
working.
I know
Okay.
the marketing on it's good.
Okay.
And I think it's entirely justified because I think it was a great first movie of 2023.
Yes. And like
First new
usually,
movie for me. I really do.
January, people always say January is kind of the month where you put your movies and they you don't hear from them or see them or nobody cares or they don't do well. But, Megan I think was a solid January release for sure. So,
Well, you say that in the US because in Britain we always get the awards stuff in January.
okay.
But I don't think that even exists anymore because I think that existed in the world of you simply get blockbusters in the summer,
Yeah.
which also doesn't exist anymore because you get blockbusters for
Anytime, yeah.
Valentine's Day all the way through to
March,
Christmas.
April, yeah.
So just having January, like, why can't you have great January movies? Of course you can. And this is one of them.
Great way to kick off the year, for sure.
Great movie. Had a lot of fun with it. A good first installment into 2023's horror output as well, which leads us in nicely, I think, Jeannine, to our Let's Talk today.
Yeah.
Which is all in relation to 2023's horror output and our most anticipated horror movies of this coming year. Admittedly, a couple of which we actually talked about last week when we were covering some trailers, so I've actually tried not to include those.
Okay.
In mine, I think we each have 3 we want to bring up for most anticipated horror of 2023. Jeannine, would you simply like to go first?
Yes. So one of my most anticipated horrors of this year is M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin.
Yes.
He's been kind of all over the place in terms of, he was kind of booming at the beginning of his career and then kind of went down a little bit and then disappeared for a while and then came back with something interesting and then, went back to something familiar. And then the Old came out and I think people were very kind of not so into Old. I watched it recently.
I never saw that,
Yeah, I recently watched it and, I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like I liked the kind of idea of it. It was based on something from a book and he kind of, took it from there. So I liked the idea of it, but overall, it's kind of one of those movies. Like a lot of his movies I could watch anytime and really enjoy them and get into them and kind of the discovery of, oh my gosh, I didn't notice that or notice this. That's so smart. That's so clever. But this one, it's just, meh, I don't need to see this movie again. And it's kind of one of those movies. So, but this one, I think the premise is really interesting. I like who's in it. We have Rupert Grint and Dave Bautista, and just the story of
Rupert Grint's in this movie.
Yes, he's one of the 4 people who come knocking at the door. Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Why has Rupert Grint not showed up in British trailers for this? Has he showed up in trailers?
Yes, he's kind of in the background. Yeah.
Why is he not front and center of British trailers?
Because Dave Bautista is blocking the whole screen.
I understand. Yes, Dave Bautista is blocking the whole screen. Yes, he is.
But yes, it's the premise of it. Like the world will end if you don't choose one member of your family to die. So that's very much a tough choice in terms of, how do you choose who in your family to kill? And at the cost of kind of the entire world.
But obviously, is it even true?
Yes, what is making these people think that that's what's happening? Why is this happening? So there are a lot of questions, and so I'm just really curious about this one and to see, Shyamalan in general, while not everything he's made is perfect, there are plenty of directors who's have made non-perfect things, weird things, disappointing things. So, but I like him kind of always pushing for it and doing something weird and trying something different and trying to be creative, at least in some way. So, the premise in general, the premise and the mystery.
Original.
Yes, the premise and the mystery in general and who's in it is really kind of getting me hyped for this one. So I'm really curious to see what this movie is all about.
Yes, fair enough. Knock at the Cabin. I am too, and I believe we are actually both getting that at the same time.
Oh, good.
So that should be
okay. Review. I think it's coming out very soon, February 4th.
February
3rd, 4th. Yeah.
Oh, maybe not February 4th.
The 3rd. I think the 3rd is the Friday. So yeah.
I don't think it's coming out that early for me. And also, I'm actually on holiday at that point. Yeah. So. Yeah. Whatever. I am looking forward to actually seeing Knock at the Cabin, though. I really am. Not as much as I'm looking forward to seeing Beau is Afraid from Ari Aster, which isn't even a horror movie. A little bit by the looks of it. A little bit.
And based on who your director is,
based on who your director is, it is very, very safe to assume there will be horror elements, certainly. Yeah. But it does look, it looks a more dangerous to say. It looks a lighter movie because the mind of Ari Aster is a very depraved one.
Yeah, a little bit.
and one that can depraved in a good way, not depraved in a I'm gonna be a real life
No, just
criminal
in a
way.
very unnerving, very kind of sinister, but like in a way that pulls you in to something very weird and
But
strange, and
with
yeah,
this trailer came out this week as well. This is the Joaquin Phoenix movie. Joaquin Phoenix looks perfect for this kind of thing because it just looks like a little bit of a trippy, kind of
yeah,
insane affair.
yeah,
This sort of like adventure through your own fears by the looks of it.
yeah.
To find, it's very unclear as to
It's very
any sort of
unclear. Like
plot.
he's trying to get home. His mother wants him to come see her. He's getting ready to go see her, and then he gets hit by a car, and then he's in the hospital, and then all these trippy things start happening.
Yeah,
Then we get all these trippy
it,
visuals.
it seems to be an adventure through Joaquin Phoenix's fears, and it's billed as a horror comedy adventure, I think.
Okay.
So there may be a level of over the top kind of comedy to it, but there's obviously with Ari Aster, who
Yeah.
we've obviously been waiting for a new movie for since Midsummer in 2019.
Yeah.
we are desperate to see what entirely original nonsense
Weird,
comes out of
unnerving
his
thing. Yeah.
mind
Um,
next.
yes.
It and I have to assume that there will be seriously unsettling things in this movie.
Oh,
If
yes.
it's a journey through a man's fears, which is what it seems to be.
I mean, and I don't know, something about it was giving me very much like the Life of Walter Mitty vibes in terms of just very kind of over the
And I
top
get
trippy
that.
visuals, like some things that related to this guy's kind of mind and imagination, and yeah, I
I
don't know.
get that. I just don't think it's going to be like that. It's not going to be a light movie.
No.
This isn't going to be an adventure drama. This is Ari Aster. If it is, something really unusual has gone on in Ari Aster's mind in the last 3 years. But I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And I don't. I think when it comes to horror, I don't like look ahead generally over a year's worth of what are we getting this year. I know that's exactly what we're doing now,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
but I don't generally do it because I tend to think of, because things just pop up, don't they? Things
Yeah.
pop up out of absolutely nowhere that you'd never heard of that end up being the best horror movie of the entire year.
Yeah.
Look at X last year. Who knew what remotely that was going to be?
Yeah.
And then it's so good. And obviously I'm going to see Pearl soon as well, when it finally comes out in Britain. But so I look at a year's output of horror more like that, kind of what's around out at the time. But for now, looking at a full list, I have to look at individuals involved. That's what's going to get me most anticipated for something at this point.
Yeah.
Mostly is individuals involved.
Yeah.
And Ari Aster being such
The
a
track record that he has.
monster, even after just 2 movies,
Yeah.
but being a horror monster of this phenomenal era we've been in for 8-ish years now, 7-8 years. I can't not be excited for his next movie. So
Okay.
Beau is
Yeah.
Afraid is
I'm
definitely,
very curious about that movie. Yeah.
it's top of my list, I think, for horror. I mean, we spoke about Renfield and Evil Dead Rise and things like even that Sick movie.
Yes, it was
and
actually really, really fun. I really enjoyed it.
And I spoke a little bit in the game about David Gordon Green's Exorcist and
Yes.
things like that I'm excited for, but this one really excites me because there's no legacy to it other than the guy's name and what he has brought to us before, and I'm not interested in seeing anything else relating to it until I go and see it now. It's not like I'll probably watch way more Evil Dead Rise material and things like that. I want to know what I'm getting before I get it, but I don't want to know what I'm getting before I get this.
Yeah.
Really. Like, if I hadn't have kind of had to, I don't think I'd have bothered watching the trailer. Because it was just like, Ari Aster's got a movie. I'm there.
I'm definitely going to see it. But yeah, I mean, that trailer obviously didn't tell you much, so it's still...
No, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
But yes, Beau is Afraid.
Okay. All right. Well, my second anticipated film in the horror genre, you know, I'm glad that something else is going to have fun with dinosaurs besides Jurassic Park. And I'm talking about
right.
65, the Adam Driver film where he is a man from the future stuck in the past, the prehistoric past, where he's just kind of trapped on this land of dinosaurs and not, you know, having to hide from them and fight them. And I think he's with a little girl, and so he has to kind of, you know, protect her, and very much a dystopian kind of feeling film. I
saw a trailer for this.
Yes, this kind of future meeting past type thing, and dinosaurs being very scary again. You know, I think
you forget
Jurassic
that
Park,
dinosaurs are even allowed to be in movies that aren't Jurassic Park.
Exactly, because that's kind of the only dinosaurs we've been getting. So the fact that we're getting it in a different style, and they're really going to feel way more horror than they have in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You know,
certainly in the Jurassic World movies.
Yes. I appreciate, you know, Fallen Kingdom trying to do some horror elements with the dinosaurs in terms of the raptor stalking around the house like a slasher. But yeah, I like this aspect of the dinosaurs kind of being very scary again and having to hide from them, and the unpredictability of them, and this man from the future who has no concept of, you know, how to survive, really having to figure out what to do. So, and it's very isolated feeling. It's just him and this little girl, and, you know, so really, really curious to kind of see how this story goes, and dinosaurs being scary.
Yeah. I'm into it. I'm into Adam Driver doing something that's unusual for Adam Driver.
Like a big kind of action star kind of movie. Like, that's not really his energy, you know. Yeah, like the most he's done like that is Star Wars. So to kind of see him do that outside of Star Wars, I think it will be a really cool thing as well. You know, leading man action star, kind of cool. So I like that for him.
Well, I was talking about X and Pearl before, and obviously I'll be getting Pearl this year, so I probably won't get this third movie this year, but the US will, and I believe it will get a release in 2023. This is Maxine.
Yes.
Or Maxine, as it's actually called, because it's three X's in the middle of it, which is the sequel to X, because Pearl was the prequel to X, is the origin story. Maxine is Mia Goth, just as her ex character, as her younger ex character, it's not Pearl.
No, but she's her ex character, Maxine,
Pearl's not there now.
The lone survivor of this farm.
The lone survivor of X.
Yeah.
And her journey into trying to be an actress in the early 80s now, I think Maxine's going to be set. Something weird's probably gonna happen. She's probably gonna get trauma from the farm.
Yes, but even, you know, there was this kind of whole situation of her very religious family looking for her as well, which is something that's kind of peppered in. So, yeah, I'm really curious to see.
Give me more
where the horror elements are
from
going to go.
Franchise, please.
Yes, so Mia Goth, you know, kind of bookending this franchise, I think is such a cool thing. But, yeah.
Well, all I hope is that the X, or whatever this franchise will end up being called. I call it a franchise. Movie series. Stop calling everything a franchise. Nothing has to be mass marketed with toys. Stop calling things franchises. Movie series. I just hope we get a phenomenal Blu-ray release of all three of them.
Oh, yes, yes.
just in a nice big blood-soaked box that's a bit grindy and a bit pulpy.
Yeah.
And full of all that great stuff. And you imagine, because obviously X was very much filmed like a in wink to the camera 70s style slasher movie.
Yeah.
Pearl wasn't, was it really? Pearl wasn't. I haven't obviously seen Pearl.
No, I mean they showed some things that related to kind of old timey thing, but it looked like the whole movie wasn't like
Done in a
done
silent
in
movie style.
no, and I think her kind of whole big dance number is done like old timey looking film.
Okay,
But yeah, so there are elements.
There's an element. Yeah, so there's an element. There's a through line element to what Ty West's doing in those movies that are time accurate and wanting to have that layer in there for fun reasons, for creativity reasons, and for kind of let's try and make it feel a certain way reasons. And I have every faith that Maxine will follow in exactly the same path of making it feel like probably an early 80s true slasher movie, I would imagine this one.
Yes.
Rather than a little bit of a Texas Chainsaw feeling nasty kind of movie that X was, where you're on a farm.
Yeah.
You're obviously doing very well, yes, you're doing dirty things and all this business.
Yeah.
But the aesthetic of it is very grimy,
sweaty and hot, and
sweaty.
miserable, and
I imagine I want a bit more silliness. I think I want a bit more
we're gonna be like in Hollywood.
Maxine.
I think we're gonna be in Hollywood,
and I'm looking forward to that. And again, this is just an example of what I'm looking at being something that just is very, very obvious to me, because there's loads and loads and loads of movies that I've seen that are coming out this year, horror movies that I've seen that are coming out this year, but because I don't know anything about them, you have to go off a basic premise, and it could go one way or the other. It's like a basic premise sounds really good in some circumstances, and it could be great, but it could be trash bag.
Yes, but I mean the precedence of what this series of films is doing in general is enough to make it interesting and making it kind of stand out, because you haven't really seen a filmmaker do something like this, where you literally release a film and its prequel in the same year, and then
not in horror, not to this extent,
build it to this trilogy, and banking on an actress, who's kind of the through line of it. Like, I don't think we've really seen something like this done the way it was done, especially in the horror genre. We haven't. So, that alone is enough to sell Maxine, just because of this very cool premise of connecting these three films over these three kind of generations of time with similar characters and all of that. So I think the kind of cool through line that this movie is working in is, we don't really need to know anything about Maxine to know that we want to see this movie, because we've gotten two great movies, and just the concept of it alone sells it, I think, and for me. So,
and it's even more weird, really, when you hear what Mia Goth actually sounds like in real life. Have you ever watched any interviews with Mia Goth?
Yes, it was a bit jarring. Yeah.
Oh my lord, her voice is just, she sounds like an 8-year-old. She sounds like the sweetest cupcake loving, let's play with my dollhouse 8-year-old girl you could possibly wish for. Why is she playing Pearl? But it works. It works. So I have a lot of fondness for this particular series, the ideas in it, even though I've still obviously not seen the second movie. I have a lot of fondness for it.
Yeah.
So yes, Maxine.
Cool. Okay.
We know what your last one is.
Well, I mean, yes, if you couldn't tell based on my outfit today, it is definitely Scream 6. I mean, I'm a huge Scream fan. I am heartbroken that Nev Campbell will not be back, but I have full faith that this will still be a very good story. The setting, I think, is definitely going to be a cool thing. Not that this is the first, Scream film to be set outside of Woodsboro, because it's not.
No, it
So
isn't. I
that's
remember.
yes, I had to explain that to you. And if you do not watch these films before Scream 6, I will murder you, because you are definitely
I
due
know you
for
will.
a
Yes, I know you
rewatch.
will. Just with 2 and 3
No, I think you need to watch, and 4. I don't think you
and
remember
4.
it.
Okay.
I think you need to watch
Okay.
all 5 films before
Well,
you
yes,
see
I
this
will.
movie.
Yes, because there's no point in just watching 2 and 3, is there?
No.
That would be
Um,
weird.
Maybe we could work that into some watch-alongs. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh,
And yes, obviously I'm very excited for this. I think, this will actually, I think there's a sense that New York is going to be a big kind of playground for this movie. There's going to be a lot of kind of using the city. It's not going to be a Jason Takes Manhattan situation. It's not even going to be an LA situation, because I think even in Scream 3, when it was set in Hollywood, it very much was isolated to specific places, movie lots and mansions and things like that. So there wasn't a whole lot of kind of running around the city of LA and Hollywood and things like that.
yeah.
So I think New York is definitely going to be a kind of a big character in this. So many kind of thoughts and theories coming out of this. Uh, Kirby coming back, so I'm really curious to see what's going on with her. If you want to see my theories and analysis, that video is up on the channel now.
It certainly is.
So you can check out kind of my little theories based on that kind of really cool subway poster that kind of, speaks to maybe something going on with Stu Macher and something with him. So, I'm just really curious to see, without Nev, what are we going to do to bring this home to still make this a good Scream story. Maybe we will finally see things that we've never seen in a Scream movie before. The killers being people that we've met before. Like, a Scream killer has never
Yeah.
been somebody we've already met. It's always been somebody that we've just been introduced to in that new movie. So what if it's something like that? Like the killer being a familiar face. What if they bring back characters that we kind of maybe forgot about? I think that would be a cool thing. What if the killer actually gets away? Like, and just is
Gail.
still out there.
I
So
say it's Gail.
it's Gail.
Gail.
Okay.
Gail's realised that her journalism career is going down the toilet, and
Obviously you haven't watched
she
Scream 5. So
I have.
Obviously you haven't watched Scream 5 recently. So
I haven't.
because we
Haven't
see where
watched it
Gail's
recently.
career is. So please.
Yes, I know where Gail's
Stop
career is.
speaking out of turn, Morgan.
I
You
know
don't
where
know
Gail's
anything.
career. I know
You don't
I know
know
Gail's doing
anything.
very well. I know Gail's doing very well
You
for herself. I'm just
you
saying.
can't make Scream plot jokes to somebody who's obsessed with Scream, because
I'm
they will just,
sorry.
despite knowing fully well that you're joking, I will find the need to correct you. So just stop.
I apologize. I'm just saying, what if something happens to Gail and she ends up snapping and going, I'm Ghostface now, and makes that noise?
Yeah, I hope she reveals it just like that and even waves her hands.
Aha!
Now. Yes. Anything can happen. I'm really curious to see where this goes. I'm excited. I love this franchise. Like, every single movie, I love every single movie in this franchise.
You do.
There are some I love more than others, but I love every movie in this franchise. So I'm excited for this movie. I'm ready for it. I'm really curious to see where it's going to go. It looks like a lot of fun. I've loved our new characters that we got. So yes, my kind of hope is to see some old faces return and maybe see some things happen with the killers that we haven't yet seen before. So I'm excited for Scream 6. I'm so excited. Which, yes,
You
keep an
are.
eye out on our channel. In the next few months, I will be doing a ton of Scream content just for my excitement, just talking Scream stuff, my rankings for the film, my rankings for the killers, Easter egg videos, all kinds of fun stuff. Who's who, for the first Scream movie, when was the killer Billy, when was the killer Stu, a deep dive into things like that. So yes, if you love Scream, I will be doing a ton of content because I'm just so excited for this film. So a bunch of Scream stuff on the channel leading up to the release of Scream 6, which is my most anticipated horror movie of 2023.
Well, there you go. I haven't actually ranked mine. Did you rank yours? Was that
No,
the
I
plan?
mean 65 and the other one that I said that it's left my brain already. Knock at the Cabin are
The
just
other one.
yes, the other one, Knock at the Cabin, are horror movies that I'm excited for. So those aren't in any particular order because there are several that I am anticipated for. But Scream 6 is the number
Yeah.
one. Yes.
Yes, and that's
That's the only one that is
understandable.
ranked. Yes.
That's understandable.
Because
Of
there's
course,
like
it
I
is.
think a Ghostbusters sequel kind of coming
There
out.
is,
Another
yeah,
The
there
Haunted
is.
Mansion is an honorable mention because I
Yeah,
feel like while the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion was
I
fun,
like the Eddie
yes,
Murphy
I
Haunted
don't think
Mansion.
I don't think it connects as strongly to the ride and the elements of the ride. So I'm hoping this movie will do more of that.
That's a
So
fair point. I still like the Eddie Murphy
I know
Haunted
you
Mansion. I
do.
think it's silly.
It's very much of your era as well.
It's very much of my era. Yes, it is. Like I said, I mean, something like Scream 6 is obviously well on my anticipated horror list for 2023, as well as like I said before, Evil Dead Rise, and Renfield,
Yeah.
and things like that. Very, very much so. But I just for my last one, I did actually go off one of just the basic premises
Okay.
that I just felt grabbed me more than a lot of the others.
It feels like all of yours are just going off vibes, really.
Oh, they are. 100% they are. But the vibes of the first two, the vibes of Beau is Afraid and Maxine are justified.
Yes. Fair.
This one is just a basic premise. I don't know the vibes. We don't know the vibes of this. This is totally new.
Okay.
I know a basic log line for this, which is if all the characters in a horror movie are black, who dies first? This movie is called The Blackening.
What?
This is a horror comedy. And from what I can see of it, this is going to be really funny.
I don't think I've heard of this, so
I've got no
signed
idea
up.
who's in it. I've got no idea who's made it. I'm going off a basic premise.
That is such a good tagline. I'm in. I'm 100% in.
If all the characters in a horror movie are black, who dies first?
That is such a good line.
I think it's going to be tremendously self-aware.
Okay.
And it's called The Blackening. That's all I know.
All
That's
right.
all I think I need to know. I don't care about
Okay.
anything else.
Well,
that.
I'm gonna look into it because that tagline alone is enough to get me on board. So, yes,
I'm into that.
That sounds interesting. Okay,
That's it. That's all I have to say.
All right. I like it. I like it very much.
Yes. Well, there we go for our Let's Talk today. Some anticipated horror for 2023, but of course we wanted to play a game. We always like to play a game, don't we, Jeannine? Let's play some fun games. Horror trivia today.
Yes.
2022 horror trivia.
Yes.
We have 5 questions each.
Yes.
Based on horror movies that came out last year. They will be in any format, as I suppose my format of questions will probably be different to yours, as the way I write questions is probably a little bit more convoluted.
Yeah,
I would imagine. Horror trivia. 2022 horror trivia, Jeannine. I know you like to go first when it comes to the games. Would you like to? Okay.
Yes, I'll keep that up.
An orphan made a long-awaited return in a prequel last year. She's deceptive and brutal, but what's her name?
Oh. Is her name Esther?
Her name is Esther. Yes.
Yes.
It is Esther from Orphan.
That's a good question. Like I had to think about it. You're gonna hate my questions.
Oh dear. As in, I'm not going to get any of them right, isn't it? This. Yes, we know how these work. We know how this works. Morgan doesn't get any of the answers correct.
In X, people have picked up on the foreshadowing of characters' deaths. What foreshadowed the death of Brittany Snow's character, Bobby Lynn?
I don't remember how Brittany Snow died. Was it something to do? No, I know how Brittany Snow died. Was she the one with the crocodile? Yes, she must have been. There was a time during the shooting of said adult film that was going on where Kid Cudi's testicles looked like a crocodile's mouth, and therefore that foreshadowed her being eaten by a crocodile. No.
No.
That's my answer. That's my answer.
I love that answer. It's great, but it's incorrect. The very beginning, like the intro of her character, they're walking out of their kind of titty bar place, and there's a big mural of an alligator, and she walks right out of the door where the alligator's mouth is.
Alligator, sorry, not crocodile. Wrong part of the world for crocodiles.
Gators.
Yeah. I prefer my answer. Jeannine, what is the name of David Cronenberg's 2022 supposedly vomit-inducing movie about growing organs? Yes, David Cronenberg had a new movie last year that for some reason I didn't see.
No.
It starred Viggo Mortensen. It starred Lea Seydoux.
Oh. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember. No, I don't remember what
it was called Crimes of the Future.
Yes, I would not
and
have gotten
I
that.
should see it.
Yes,
I very much should see it. I don't know why I didn't. Yes, there you go.
Okay. In Nope, what is the name of the monkey TV sitcom Jupiter starred in?
Oh, Georgie's House, something like that.
It's like so close.
It's something like Georgie's House. Give it to me, come on.
It's Gordy's Home.
Gordy's Home.
Georgie's House. It's like the generic version.
Oh, I knew
so close. So close.
Gordy's Home.
Gordy's House. Yes. Gordy's Home.
Okay.
Very close to
George's house. Oh, Monkey Curious George. I was thinking of Curious George.
Yes, I think you were.
God damn it. Okay. Jeannine.
Okay.
In the movie, Halloween Ends. How many times was the phrase "evil dies tonight" uttered?
0 times?
0 times is the correct answer. Why was it not uttered once?
I know.
This is silly.
I think they realized people were like, this is ridiculous.
It was uttered 700 times in Halloween Kills.
Yes, and we got a Christmas Dies Tonight in Violent Night.
We did. Christmas Dies Tonight. We did.
All right. In Prey.
Yes, well done. Well done.
As it tests Earth's natural hierarchy, what is the last kind of animal it kills before moving on to humans?
Oh, I've forgotten, so I'm going logic. A wolf.
Incorrect. It is a bear.
A bear. Wolves, bears, they both live in the forest. North American forest wild beasts. Wolves and bears, they're all the same.
Yes.
Not the same, obviously. Not the same. I was in the right ballpark. Prey. I saw Prey once in summer. I forget things, Jeannine. Okay.
Yes.
What was Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer's connection to the earliest of motion pictures in Nope? The characters. I forgot what the characters were called, so I just wrote the actors.
Great grandfather.
Oh, I don't need that specifics. I'm not interested in that specifics.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to get me to get all the greats. They're his distant grandchildren.
Whose?
Oh, I need the person's name?
No, not the person's. What is their connection to the earliest of motion pictures?
Oh, he was the first man filmed riding a horse. He was the first man on film.
I'll give you it. I needed the jockey, the horse, the first black man on film. I needed all that. Yes.
Okay.
They had the descendants of the black jockey on the horse. Yes.
Okay. In Halloween Ends, what are the Halloween costumes of the parents of the boy Corey accidentally kills?
Do you know what? Why have you gone so specific with your trivia? Can I just ask that?
I don't know. It's just what came to mind.
I don't know. I know who they are because they're at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
And they leave Corey with the kid. Corey obviously kills the kid, throwing him downstairs. And they go into a Halloween party and they're dressed as...
I mean, we see the mother in the costume
Gomez and Morticia. No. They're not dressed as Gomez.
We actually see the mother wearing the same costume like 4 years later when she accosts.
I remember that as well. I don't remember what it was. What was it?
She was a flapper and the dad was a train conductor. Because I remember.
Well, they could look like Gomez and Morticia.
In a train conductor outfit.
Gomez Adams has definitely wanted to be a train conductor at some point in his life.
That is true. He likes trains.
100%. Fair enough. And flappers, tight black dresses. Come on, that's Morticia.
Flapper dresses are notoriously not tight.
No, that's true, actually, isn't it? That's a very good point, yeah. Oh, dear.
Wow, Morgan.
Fashion. It's a good point, yes, you are.
Well, I have a bonus question, so I can give you one chance to redeem yourself after the last question if you
well, your last question is what is the name of Pearl's husband in X?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
Pearl's
question.
Husband's name, do you? Can't give her what she wants because he's so old, and feeble. You think he's the evil one of the movie? He's not.
No.
He's played by Stephen Ure.
And we don't even see him in Pearl. He's away at the war.
Away at the war.
What is?
But his name?
I want to say that, but I don't think that's right. Harry?
Oh, it's close. His name is Howard.
Howard, okay.
His name is Howard.
Howard. Now I can hear her saying it, Howard.
Yes. Okay, bonus question.
Okay, well, no, this is your last question, number 4.
Oh, my last question.
I think you missed all of my questions. So.
I haven't. Actually, I got the first question.
No, you didn't. You made up that thing about Kid Cudi's balls.
Was that the first question? Oh, for God's sake.
You said Georgie's house. That was wrong. You guessed a wolf and not a bear.
That's not wrong, Georgie's house. It's the same vibe. Right, okay.
So this is your 5th question, but I do have a bonus question if you want to at least try to get 1 point.
Yes, please.
In Scream.
Yes. Oh, dear.
Tara swipes through the cast of Stab. Who do we see played Tatum in Stab 1?
Oh, God. Tate.
She is referenced in the first Scream movie, but the one you seem
Jennifer
to
Love
say.
Hewitt.
Ooh, that's a good guess, but no.
Not Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Alicia Silverstone.
Alicia Silverstone. I should have gone with somebody who actually looks like Tatum and not somebody who doesn't look anything like Tatum.
Okay, bonus question. Or some kind of
Jennifer Love
points.
Hewitt has brown hair.
It's like,
It's
how
the
many points
wrong
do I
colour.
have?
You got the nope
Esther, 0.
horse,
Nope.
Esther,
So I got 3.
0. Yeah, 3.
Okay. Well, at least so you're not completely 0. What's the name of the movie starred in by John Leguizamo's character that is shown on his tortillas and ruined Chef Slowick's day
Oh God!
in the menu?
Oh, he says it so often in the movie.
Yes.
He constantly brings it up. What's the name of the stupid movie? Captain 17 or something like that.
Your memory.
What's
I
the
think
name?
you need to get your brain checked. Did you have a stroke?
What's the name of the movie? I'm like
Captain
this. All the best.
17.
All the best people don't know trivia. I'd just like to point that out.
Yes. Okay.
Leonard Maltin was famously tragically
Not good.
bad at the Schmodown. So I think you'll find I'm on a winner. Actually, I can talk about things, but I don't know nuggets of trivia.
That is clear.
Oh, it's something like Captain 17. It is. It is.
Is it? Is it?
It is, or is it like something to do with a pizza? I don't know. What is it? Is it not something to do with like a pizza place?
No. It is called Calling Dr. Sunshine.
I told you it was like Captain 17 CS.
Okay.
CS.
Where did you get pizza?
Calling pizza. You call up a pizza restaurant, pizza place. You call them up, don't you? You phone them to get your order. You phone them.
That's a leap. That's a very big, giant leap.
Calling
Morgan,
pizza place. You call a pizza place. Hello, it's John Leguizamo's Pizza. CS, Captain 17, calling Dr. Sunshine. See, I told you.
Yes, so close. So very close. I think George's house was closer.
I was quite pleased with George's house, actually. I was quite pleased with that one.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I think that's it for today's episode.
Leguizamo's Pizza. It is it for today's episode, yes. Of Monday Madness. We've had fun today, Jeannine.
We have.
It's been horror-filled game, anticipated horror in the Let's Talk. Plenty of fun things, Golden Globes related things, and a M3gan review as well.
Yes.
So there's obviously other things in the WhatsApp as well, but we have had a lot of fun on today's Monday Madness. It is, of course, not the only show you can find on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, nor is it the only thing you can find on this YouTube channel if you are watching Monday Madness, of course, on the It's a Wonderful podcast YouTube channel. Please subscribe, ding your notification bells up there, actually this way. And it's that corner, not the other corner. That would be wrong. That would be clicking off this, which
don't do that.
Don't do yet. Don't do yet. We haven't finished yet. Don't do it yet. But yeah, subscribe, ding the notification bell on this YouTube channel for all the fun stuff we have here. For God's sake, I will actually be making some videos soon.
Yes, please.
So it's not just Jeannine doing all the stuff. Morgan's movie collection has plenty of upcoming content. Do not fear for that. I also want to do plenty of stuff in relation to that kind of stuff that's not just showing new releases, but just some various movie thoughts I have, not necessarily reviews, but little snippets of analysis perhaps and things like that, or just in-depth little things that I pick up on when I watch old movies, and fun things in that realm, I think, is where my video content will likely
Yes.
veer towards, as opposed to yours, Jeannine, that's obviously very of the time and of the current and of the present, which is probably more relevant and enjoyable for everybody. But there's plenty of stuff we have here on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel for you to check out, as well as on the podcast feed itself, where we have Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday. This show, of course, every Monday in audio form. And It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, every single Friday. That is our flagship. That is where we celebrate old movies. We discover new old movies. We show them a lot of love because they deserve it, Jeannine.
They do.
They deserve it. Morgan Hasn't Seen, of course. We are still in the midst of our 200th episode celebratory series, counting down the best of Morgan Hasn't Seen throughout its entire 200 episode history of many, many series. Did we figure out there's about 46 series or something like that of Morgan Hasn't Seen?
One of them being a 100th episode special, so
that's
technically
true, yes.
like 45 series we've covered.
45 series. But a lot of stuff, and we're getting to the real good stuff now as we get closer to that 200th episode at the end of January, the last week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have you covered on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Amazon Music, and everywhere else. If you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, there are links in the description of this episode. It has also been scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you are watching on YouTube for the entire time as well. You can find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in there, because, Jeannine,
3 is the magic number.
All your Leguizamo pizza stuff is where?
You can find me at Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, you can find that at our Teespring shop. Check the link below or see it scrolling by. It is on Teespring, so just search It's a Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com for some awesome merch. We have all kinds of logos for our shows, some fun Stranger Things designs, so please check it out. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com.
There we go. I do think there is only one thing left to do, Jeannine. I'm not quite sure what sort of... Oh, do you want to do an Austin Butler pretending he isn't actually Elvis anymore impression?
Yes, I can attempt that for sure. All third. Whoa.
Oh, sorry, Austin, are you okay? Have you lost your mind? Are you...
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
You've been spending far too much time in Las Vegas, Austin. I'm worried about you, okay?
I don't know what you're saying.
Bye! Weirdo Austin Butler, boo.